meeting is budget hearings. Next on the list, the Honorable District Judge of Hill County, Mr. Lee Harris. Go ahead, Judge Harris.
My budget should be all the same as last year, with the exception of machine rental, which is our copier, and they just always go up a few dollars every year. And then I lost a court reporter. Last day was Friday, and of course, Ida, who had been in my office for 16 years, I guess, left in March or April, I guess. And so Gloria, who's now doing the interpreting and doing basically the assistant court reporter's job. In fact, Jane's going to retire at the end of the year, so I'm going to have lost everybody.
Oh, wow.
But I think she's going to come back and work part-time, kind of doing what Gloria does now. So we'll save some money on retirement and all that with her as a part-time employee after the first year. But anyway, Gloria will have to go get that court, whatever they call it, personnel training.
Yeah.
And then hopefully I'll find a new reporter. I was telling the judge a minute ago, the lady that came and subbed for me yesterday, the day before, will be here tomorrow, and the next day had another engagement she had already taken. I've offered her the job. She's not committed yet because of what they make. The lady that I lost most recently went to Johnson County. That's the third reporter I've lost to Johnson County in the last 5 years, I guess 4 years. Lost one to Tarrant County.
Do we know what the pay differential was on that one, Sherry?
24,000.
24,000 more than us. So
When
we're going to have to pay more.
Yeah, when I lost Janet, it was almost 30,000.
Yeah, remember
We caught up a little bit.
Not much.
It's hard to catch up. They just keep going up.
Yeah,
you know.
and they're forced to keep going up because their neighbors to the north can keep going up. We're just geographically, we're in a position that's not tenable.
And of course, see what our housing has done around here. Not a house goes up for sale that doesn't sell immediately. And, you know, all these subdivisions that nobody had anything to do with for years are full. But anyway, the only money I thought I might need a little extra on is, you know, 1,000, 1,500 extra on that training stuff.
So we had 3,500 last year with 5,000 this year.
Yeah,
Do it? Okay. All right.
so that's the only money we're talking about. All right, gentlemen, thank you.
I got you for just a second. We went over the jury fund earlier and kind of let them know we had to put another 100,000 in the jury fund today, which it stinks, but just the cost of doing business is more. We're constantly getting more and more appointed attorneys. We don't, like I said, the state's got criteria for what meets that. Unfortunately, more and more people meet that criteria. And I was telling about the time that we had, what was it? You were judge down here with 5 attorneys on one side that are appointed.
Yeah, CPS.
Yeah, CPS case. It was insane. So it doesn't get any better.
We had a lawyer for the kids. Luckily, all of the kids didn't need but one lawyer, which I've had times where in situations you had to appoint more than one because maybe one set of kids had a different situation than the other. We had one for the kids, we had one for the mom, and there were 3 for the different fathers, and we were paying all of them. Paying me, paying the court reporter, paying the bailiff. The state was paying the lawyer representing the CPS. So the taxpayers were funding that whole trial.
So we did a couple of things. We moved up because of because of the situation with the court reporter. We on the contract services and that 2104, 2305 line, that's jury fund. We moved it from 2,500 to 10,000, figuring with the difficulties we're hearing, that's probably best to go ahead and put additional money in there. If we don't need it, we can remove it next year, but that'll cover that. The other thing that we kind of went, a lot of these things did stay the same. We went up by 50,000 with felony attorneys. We had 200,000 last year. Year to date through May, we'd already spent 144,000. So we went ahead and moved that to 250. The juvenile, we went up about 1,500. We went up 30,000 on civil attorneys. That's where he's talking about the court appointments with CPS. And Judge Crane does most of that now, as I understand it. And God bless him, because I don't want that. And you couldn't pay me to take it, actually.
He volunteered.
The misdemeanor stayed the same, even though our year to date is up just a hair at 110. Of just not seeing the misdemeanor caseload that we were, it appears. We've stayed the same on guardianship, appointed attorney on that. 8,000. I'm not going to bust it last year. We're pretty good. So I did not go up on that. A capital murder trial expense, that's 25,000. It's pretty static. Of course, 25,000 will not pay for a capital murder trial. It won't pay for one of the defense attorneys, but we're part of a program whereby we pay the state of Texas through Judicial Region 3, I believe, that for a capital murder trial, that's
Texas capital murder. Anyway, I think because they started it somewhere in West Texas,
Yeah, Lubbock
or someplace. Based on our population, basically we buy an insurance policy.
yeah, for lack of a more articulate term, it's exactly what it is, capital murder insurance. So
We've only had to use it once, and that worked out so well because they provide 2 lawyers and 1 mitigation expert for the money we pay them. But you're still going to end up with a second mitigation expert for the defense, and then the state's going to have a expert that they would have to hire. That particular case was very cut and dried on the guilt innocence. And when they came in, it was originally looked at as a possible death penalty case. And basically the DA went to them and said, I'll give you till X date to plead it to life without parole. And gave them plenty of time so they could look at all the discovery, meet with their person, but we never had to dip into that money to hire the expert because of the drop dead date. And ultimately the guy took and the family was fine with life without parole. So they took the life without parole. So we saved.
I know 6 or 7 years. Yeah, 6 or 7 years ago, we calculated the cost of the average capital punishment, death penalty, that is, from the time of conviction through all the automatic appeals. It's like $2 million.
Right. When y'all remember the Jamesburg case in Jasper, maybe late 90s. Remember that?
Yep.
They drug that poor guy to death.
Yep.
That county had to max for 3 years in a row, I think it was. They had to come back and go to their maximum tax rate to try to keep a rollback from happening, just to collect enough money to get over what those capital trials had cost. And that was kind of when the idea of this West Texas deal started getting floated of, hey, this ain't good for small counties. Because Jasper, is a little bitty narrow county with nothing but pine trees, kind of, no industry to speak of. And now it's a lot different. There's a lot of houses up there on Sam Rayburn Reservoir, but still, I'm sure their tax base is
not what it should be to do that.
So
the next one is weird. We went down on this. The only one we ever gone down on that I can recall, and that's the investigations line. It was 9,000 last year, went down to 5 this year. They only use 2,500 a day. Now the changes in the last year and a half are that Mark got a full-time investigator from us. So, but again, I don't think that's what that was paying for all that.
no, because we've had more requests for investigators. So we must be paying that from someplace.
Yeah, I got to look into that. So I'm going to put a check mark by that. It's something to look into further.
I will say I pretty well limit how much, going out to start with on the investigator, because I kind of expect the lawyers to do some of their own investigating.
We had to go up on witness and evidence again this year. Last year we went from, so in FY22, actually we spent $466. We went to 2,000 last year. And we're going to 2,500 this year because year through date, March 31st, we had spent $1,494, almost $1,500.
What that was, I think the trial that brought that about was the sexual assault case where the victim had moved away. And of course, when they come in for the trials, we provide them a hotel room, we provide them a per diem on meals, and then they get paid their bond. Yeah, and I think that's the case that we spent the year before. We had a similar situation where we had a continuous sexual abuse case. Again, victim had moved off, and it was a child, and so they had a parent and maybe 2 children that they had to bring in. So those expenses, are something that don't have a lot of control over. I don't know how to forecast them because you never know what we're going to try in a particular year. But I don't ever see it getting to be more than somewhere in that range because most of our victims are going to be local. people. So
Well, that brings the next line. We had to add some more money into the 2409, this other litigation expense. Historically, it's around $1,000. And last year we adopted $1,000. Through May 31st, we'd spent 9,000. So we hung that at 15,000 for this next
I
year.
wonder if that's where those
I think some of it came out of the witness and some of it went into the investigator. That's the other litigation expense. And the same thing with the investigators. So we're going to go back and check all three of those again to see what we're looking at.
might be more realistic to put that under investigators.
Okay.
So that we get it from the right
Yes, sir.
number, the
Okay.
right phone number.
No problem. We went up on postage from 2,500 to 6,000. We spent 5,600 in postage year to date, which is weird, but I think it has to do with the way the bailiffs are mailing out jury cards or something and anything we're
Well,
taking.
I guess I thought that came out of the sheriff's budget.
I thought so too, but I don't know. Again, something else we're going to check into further. But we've had a request. It's been allocated that line. So
We don't even have a postage machine. We just buy pre-stamped envelopes. No way.
y'all are welcome to participate in the county's postage machine in the basement if you need to. It's got,
Save any money.
yeah, it saves us a ton of money. Oh my goodness. We were sending out so much stuff. I think Marshall uses it too, doesn't she? Yeah. District clerk, everybody, county clerk. It's neat because everybody got their own passcode. You go in and put your passcode in.
I've seen the machine. I wouldn't know how to work it.
Oh, no, I'm not saying I worked it. I won't tell that lie, but Miss Paula has a clear understanding of how it operates.
It's just there. I know.
I was there for the briefing, if that helps. But anyway, that's really,
But that money, that's weird. That's, like I said, all we buy is pre-stamped envelopes and we're talking about maximum 100 a month.
yeah, that's what I thought too. So what we're gonna do is go back and look at that spend and make sure everything's where it needs to be. We'll get back with you on that one. We're not gonna finalize the budget until the 27th of August, so we got a little time to look into a few of these
I
things.
can see if we'd spent 1,200, I can't see spending
5,600, yeah.
something
Something's off.
wrong.
Yeah.
Not be our, it could be something out of DC for the jury, but it's not how we're gonna do some of the maintenance.
Okay.
It could be that.
Okay, well, we'll give it a look, see, and just see what it is.
The way it always been done in the past is that DC would print the jury cards. And they would hand them to the bailiffs, and the bailiffs would hand theirs postage. I don't know whether they would go out to the machine or whether they would just put physical stamps on.
I got the impression of talking to Marcella, she's paying for the postage now or somehow allocating
Well,
postage.
Maybe, but why would it be coming out of that?
I don't know. We'll get it figured out. Either way, it doesn't need to continue to come out of there. If it doesn't, it needs to go somewhere else or, you know,
Yeah.
one of the two.
Of course, the story I was always related to that since the time Alan took all the,
Oh my
luckily he
goodness.
had video of it. He took the two
Yep.
batches, put all the postage on it, wrapped it. Now we make sure we do not wrap rubber bands or anything. Went down, put it in the postage
Uh-huh.
deal here. We had jury trial.
Nobody showed
up. Nobody shows up. We're thinking, well, sometimes maybe some people don't show up, but we've never had one where nobody showed up. So as we realized we weren't gonna have a jury trial, we started trailing. Alan went, and got the video, said, look, I promise, I put them in, and I could see him drop them in. Go over to the post office and somebody knew there. Yes, because they had been bundled together, thought that was all returned unserved.
Oh my goodness.
Then they didn't want to give us our money back for the postage. And we couldn't, it's not like we could reuse them
Yeah.
because they'd already, we finally convinced them to give us back the $280 in postage, but. Yeah, that was the one, oh, you took them, you put them in the bag, and you don't want to give us the money back. That's the federal government at work.
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Well, gentlemen, any questions for Judge Harrison? All right, thank you, Judge. Appreciate you being here. Next at the bat, Mr. Mark Pratt, our district attorney in Hill County, and you will find his right behind the county court of law budget, which would put you on page 45. I'm sorry, district clerk budget.
Hey, Mark.
Hey,
Hey, how y'all doing?
doing good. How are you today, sir?
Doing good.
We've mostly the request was in line with last year. We saw a minimal increase request. One of those increased requests was no increased request. Never mind. So same as last year.
Yeah, just all the same.
Questions for Mr. Pratt?
That's easy. Yeah. Thank you.
All right. Thank you all.
Thank you very much, Mark. Always making it easy on us.
Appreciate it.
Thank you, sir. All right. Okay, so let's look at what we got left. We got a little bit of time left. It's 11:30. Did I have a probate 11:30? No, we don't have the next one until two. That's right. So let's go ahead and butt some of this out before lunch. Budget schedule says we have Honorable Judge Harris out, we have Mark out. Let's knock out Lucio Valderes, because Lucio, I put him on here. Lucio is not comfortable speaking in public. He's a very good maintenance man, but I understand that. So let's go to our courthouse facilities and maintenance line. You're going to find that in the front part of your budget. These- Judge, that's you, that's me. Page 30, 38, thank you. Courtney made sure all these numbers are right on the table of contents, because that's not my strong suit. We've proven in past years. So she made me sit down and go through it with her. So anyway, government facilities, department head, that's Lou, the same 3.2 we proposed for him. Same thing with the staff that we have. Staff and those staff lines includes the two ladies that work here, Mrs. Rocio and Ms. Shiloh here. And then Mrs. Regina and Kathy over at the other Covington Street. They also move between the other buildings and take care of them. So it's not like you get two people in one building, that's it. It should take two people full-time to just clean this dirty son of a gun. But they also take care of 218 North Waco, 505 North Waco, take care of juvenile probation, take care of AgriLife, and they all get together occasionally and they go down and clean the exhibits building, things like that. They also go out to Huron one day a week, I believe, and clean there. So these ladies are very busy and they do a heck of a good job for us. I can't say enough about them. Lucio is still knocking everything down by himself for the most part, staying busy. Seems like every time I try to do something, take workload off him, it puts extra on him. But not asking for it this year, but next year I'm trying to convince him he needs another part-time. His last time part-time experience was so bad, he's like, no, I would rather do it myself. I was like, you hired that guy. That's not my fault. So I want to clear that up. But he did not want part-time this year, but I'm going to tell you guys next year, I'm going to ask for another part-time employee to start learning what all he does.
Should you put something in there in case he were to have to find somebody?
I could, but I wouldn't know what to put in there without
Yeah.
looking. I didn't anticipate doing it, but I could. If you want me to look into it, I'll look into it and report back.
Somebody were to happen to come along that would just qualify. Yeah.
All right, so I got check part-time maintenance. Okay. You see all the other things the same there. Our training mileage and reimbursement has stayed the same. Most of theirs is not really training, it's mileage reimbursement. Those ladies are driving back and forth between Huron and these other buildings. Now, we did take your favorite vehicle, Commissioner, the old Crown Vic, and we issued that to, after Brad Orban gave it back, we issued it to the folks over at maintenance. We did that earlier this year, and it's worked out well. I have concerns about these ladies driving their vehicles back and forth between work jobs because that puts the onus on us. I don't know about their personal vehicles. They keep the courthouse clean. I'm sure the vehicles are clean. I'm sure they're well maintained, but there's a speck of liability out there. So that car wouldn't do anything but sitting there. You're not going to get anything for it. And the ladies seem to love it as a cleaning mobile. So, and the first order though, the only thing you had to take that stinking VSO off the side. And so they got that taken care of and I'm good with it. I told Brad, I understand why you did that, but I don't understand why you did that. So anyway, they're using that. You'll see that in the budget for this year's request. Most of that training mileage reimbursement is actually mileage reimbursement for Shiloh, Rocio, going back and forth between here and Huron. They're bad about not giving us their mileage for traveling to other buildings. I try to stay on them. They're like, Judge, it's not worth the paperwork. I try to make sure that they keep up and give us those mileage. And so I don't ask for a reduction. I ask for help in telling them, please turn your stinking miles in so I can pay you for them. You did it. You need to be paid for it. Bonds and insurance, that's all facilities insurance, 52,000. That includes courthouse, several of the annex, just courthouse, several other buildings. Contract services, 5,000. You see, we haven't used anything. That's more of a, if we have to hire somebody to come in and strip the floors, if we have to hire somebody with specialized equipment to come do something we can't do in-house, it's rare that there's something that Lucio cannot do or can't attempt to do. So we don't use that often, but it's there for that. Supplies, that's 1,500. That's more like your office supplies, your stationery, your pens, your paper, things like that. Your telephone is Lucio's telephone at 720. He's the only one with a telephone. He has a cell phone. Then no office rent, obviously. Other supplies is 30,000. The other supplies here is all your cleaning supplies, your toilet paper, your napkins, all that kind of stuff goes in there. Repairs is 60,000. You will see that in 2022 actual was 409,000. The actual in 23 was 64,000. You know what the difference is? One stinking building. We got rid of that Franklin Street Annex. That's how much we're saving just getting rid of that monstrosity. It was an albatross around our neck with millstone tacked on top of it.
And I came by yesterday, there was a Hill Plumbing truck parked.
I am shocked.
Yeah.
I mean, maybe they get a deal. At least Hill Plumbing some office space over there and work out.
You never see over 2-3 cars.
I'm sure they had a good choice for doing that, and I do not dispute their wise decision. Yes, but that's how much we saved by getting rid of that monstrosity. So last year actual was 23, it was 64. We put 64 for adopted this year, and last year we had some other mines, and that money went some other places other than just there. We had to cover some other budgets. Year to date, we spent 15,000 out of a $60,000 budget. I propose we leave it at 60. If it's still lower again next year, we'll look at lowering it. But there's already savings in there is what I'm getting at. It's been, thank you for letting me redo the Covington Street Annex. As much of a nightmare as it's been, right there. Elvis had a precedent. If you didn't sign it, you're not allowed before, maybe. So anyway, going along on other things there, you have maintenance contracts. We have some contracts with certain people to do certain maintenance items around here. Things like the folks that come and test the water in the hot water loop and the cold water loop, folks that come and change those filters. We just little maintenance things. You've got the fire alarm system. We have a maintenance too. That's where that gets paid out of. Utilities, that's pretty stated for what it is. We're on track for 70,950 for this year. We're pretty close to, I think we're going to check that a little further, but I think that number is going to stick. You look back in 22, it was 117,000. Now, and so we got 70,000. We're heading in the right direction on utilities. Capital outlay, only 20,000 in this line. I'm gonna be honest with you. A lot of years this capital outlay line gets beat up because we don't have anything like this year to date, and then we'll have something that costs way more than 20,000. I put it in there to try to budget the blow, to ease the blow to the budget. So when we have something that's over 20,000, they won't have spent as much in repairs or maintenance contracts. Somewhere we'll use that money to backfill, but we leave that in there because when you have an air conditioning unit go out, or 2 or 3, it gets expensive quick. Then let's talk about some other things. Cell block museum. We've got, that's your other cost. We've got 20,000 allocated for the cell block museum. That's the money that we set aside for 2 purposes. We pay insurance, we pay bonds out of it. If there's anything, I'm not bonds, we pay insurance, and we pay utilities out of it. Yeah, utilities, insurance, utilities. Sorry. Brain freeze. The other thing is, if there's anything left over in that, we give it to them as operating costs. We donate it to the, we transfer it to Cell Block Museum. I've been asked by Judge McGregor, who's now head of the Historical Commission and Cell Block Museum, I believe as well. That's been just instrumental in getting things done down there. If that's going to continue, I said, I have proposed it in my budget to the same 20,000 as previous years. So whatever's left over after we pay utilities and insurance is to be sent to them for operating costs. I think it's important that we maintain the history of our county for those that come after us, and we let them know how things go around here. So that's our building. We own it. They've rented it, but we still own it. So it's an investment in a property the county taxpayer owns. Going to the Hill County Fairgrounds. This one's got me a little puzzled. I need to look into it. We budgeted 25.6 last year, and allegedly we spent 25.295 year to date. I don't know how that's possible on just even utilities. We bought some tables, but we didn't buy that many tables. And I mean like $1,000, $1,500 worth of tables, I remember right. So we got to go back and check that number. That number is not correct in my mind. I need to go back and figure out what's going on there. We've had no major repairs there that I'm aware of. We've had no outages of any units.
When did we build those concrete bunkers for the?
That wasn't us. The fair board paid for that. So yeah, no, and I wouldn't. God bless you, people in the fair board. I wouldn't have put those there. But that's, yeah, it's equal opportunity today. I'll offend everybody. So I don't know what that is, but that's something that I put a note on here that I need to look at and go back. If it's an actual expense, I'll come back and report to you, but I tend to think there may be something in that line that doesn't belong there. It may have been allocated elsewhere. So we'll let you know what we find on that one. 505 North Waco, that again is simply utilities and insurance. It's a metal building. It's pretty cheap to insure. And then on top of that, the only guy over there constantly is Lou, and Lou's not even there constantly. He touches base every day. But that's the offices. AgriLife, that's just insurance and bonds at insurance bonds and utilities at 12.5, I believe. Covington Street, the same. Support Services Building is the same, and Huron, the same. Now, Huron, I need to figure out what's going on because they're ahead of where they should be for year to date. I don't understand it. Not for your building, for the other building across the block. And we're looking into that to see what's going on. I will report back when we figure that out. And then capital lease, this capital lease payment, I am drawing a blank. McKinstry, that's right. So the 10-year payments in McKinstry that did the job on both the courthouse and the jail, that put the new air conditioners, the LED lights, sealed everything up. The reason our utilities have dropped so precipitously, there you go, because of that.
So, how long? Any period of litigation like that?
Well, I would say pending litigation, you're going to be more frank. I don't know exactly which one you're talking about.
I thought you only after the AgriLife.
Yes, so that is something that we need to talk about. We've not had a conversation with yet. It won't affect those line items or anything in this budget. If it's litigation, it's going to come out of either the jury fund as an appointed attorney, possibly. So that's been covered there. The other possibility, if we were to win, monetary reward for our troubles, well, then we would have to certify that revenue when we got it, not before, and allocate it out back to where it goes, which would mean we put a new budget line for the AgriLife building and to do whatever we need to do. So we'll be paying for the attorneys internally already, but I don't know when this will go to trial or how it's going to resolve itself yet. And it could possibly in this next fiscal year to go to trial. That's within the realm.
Any forward steps with engineering?
I had an update with the attorney last week. I don't feel the privilege to speak about it publicly.
Okay.
But privately, I can give you an update on that. No apologies necessary. No apologies. I don't want to break the attorney-client privilege that we get from those things by speaking about it from a third party. But I will give you guys an update on that. Matter of fact, I can do that maybe in next week's commissioner's court. We could put special attorney pending litigation.
Executive session.
Yes, sir. I'll look into that. We'll see what we can get for you. So that's the facilities and maintenance that takes care of Lucio. If you guys have got any questions on that one, go back to page 1 of the general fund, not page number 1, forgive me, page number 29. That's Justin's budget. I don't know that we actually went over that yesterday in detail. Same budget as last year. Nothing extra. Yeah, I try to make it that way. I get hit for playing favorites, but if I played favorites, that budget would be a lot bigger than that. So not happening. Okay, so then let's look at other people that may or may not make this afternoon schedule. What time have we got? We've got 15 minutes till. So this afternoon, we're going to run through Judge Crane, David Holmes, Katie Cole, the Sheriff's Office, Brad Orpins. Zach Davis is already gone as of yesterday. So that's Greg and Tina. I will call Greg and Tina and tell them to be here early. Susan, do you want to do yours now or this afternoon? I wasn't aware that budget, I'm sure it was posted and I missed it, but I'm sorry I didn't make the deal this morning. They had it at the same time I had this and I had probate, so.
Right, everything at the same time. Let me do it this afternoon, if it's all right.
Go with me, good deal. So yeah, we should be in good shape there. So gentlemen, at this time, I'm going to recess this meeting until approximately, let's call it 1 o'clock this afternoon, 1:20 this afternoon. Be back in here by 1:15 and we'll get the meeting started at 1:20. Yes, sir.
After this, after we
Yes, sir.
cut this on for a minute,
Okay.
square out something. I think it's still time.
Be all right. We'll figure it out. So good. deal.
20?
Yes, ma'am. Be back at 1:20. We are recessed until 1:20 this afternoon. Yes, sir. Oh, you're good. Okay.
Do you hear me?
But no,
It's a weird time, 1:20.
well, that's what, the next person's budget is, isn't it? It's, Matt Crane's at 120?
Just kidding.
Oh, sorry, yeah, sorry. Yeah,